From the banks of Dewey Lake, it's the Dewey Pod Monster.
Welcome back. My name is John, and this is the Dewey Pod Monster Podcast. This is your weekly podcast about consumption. We are, of course, proud members of the You Run Podcast Network. You can find all of our old episodes, all of our new episodes, and all of our upcoming episodes, as well as all the other great shows on the You Run Podcast Network at yourunpodcast.com. With me this week is the host of the Dewey Pod Monster Podcast, and all he's been doing this week is sitting around watching TV and movies, so he's probably got 50 things to talk about. I can't get this guy to shut up, but his name is Sean. And Sean, how are you doing today?
John, if you don't give me what I want, I'll threaten to launch nuclear missiles, send stock prices crashing, or maybe even make Gary Coleman president.
You went with the wrong quote. I was really hoping you were going to lead with, I hate meddling women.
No, I'm not a misogynist like that.
It's disappointing.
Although maybe
so, Sean, what is this laundry? Well, I dabble. Sean, what have you been watching on this week where you've been doing nothing but being accused of watching TV?
Have I been accused of watching TV?
Just by me.
Oh,
just
okay.
by me.
Okay.
So.
Well, that couldn't be further from the truth. So, I mean, I did watch TV, but I don't think you want to hear about, Married at First Sight or Jeopardy. So I'll talk about, I really don't have much to talk
Jeopardy.
about. I do too, but I can't talk about that every week. It is something I watch every week, but so I'll talk about a documentary I watched. It is called Schlock, The Secret History of American Movies. And it goes into basically talk about the history of the exploitation genre in movies. Have you seen this before? You're nodding your head in acknowledgement.
I'm pretty sure I have. It sounds very familiar. I'm like 99% sure I have.
It goes from like pre-code days of Hollywood, talks about the nudie films and not necessarily like necessarily porn, but like nudist films. And then the nudie cuties
and type films and stuff.
Yeah, kind of. Not so much the loops, but once the GIs come back from the war, they start to go to the theater to watch these kind of movies that took over for burlesque, essentially. And they talk to Roger Corman. They actually have an interview with Roger Corman, and a lot of it focuses on how he revolutionized movies and making movies cheaply and quickly and all that stuff. They talk to Doris Wishman, who was one of the people, she was like the first woman director that did these kind of exploitation films. They talked to a couple other people I'm not super familiar with, but they're all people from basically like the 50s, 60s, 70s. It kind of stops at the 70s, maybe early 80s, if it even goes that far. But they basically talk about how these movies, these schlocky movies, the start of B movies, but mostly exploitation, how they change cinema and how after a time, like some movies that you would think of as being exploitation or on the edge of exploitation, and movies that like Easy Rider took from movies ahead of time that were very similar, and they the mainstream movie, quote unquote, started to take ideas from these movies, from these exploitation movies. They talk about how Drugstore Cowboy and how the rating board kind of came to be, how it was all it's voluntary now, but how before they really were kind of loose with the rules. And I mean, they honestly, let's be fair, they still are. But it was a pretty good documentary.
Then Jason came along and fucked everything up for about 2 decades, and now they're kind of lax again.
Yeah, it was a good movie though. I really enjoyed it. It was like an hour and a half long. If you're interested at all in like film history, especially exploitation movies and stuff like that, it was a good watch. Other than that, I really didn't get a chance to watch much, like I said, other than Married at First Sight and Jeopardy. But you and I did something on Friday of this last week. We went and saw the Found Footage Fest.
We went. Gossip.
You were there. We saw the Found Footage Fest at Planet Ant in Ferndale. And we had seen them previously. I want to say
Planet Ant in Hamtramck.
Oh, did I say Ferndale? Yeah, Hamtramck. Yeah. Planet Ant and Hamtramck. And we saw them previously. I want to say it was like April or May, roughly, in Ann Arbor.
Sounds right.
I think we both had the same opinion. This show seemed better. And I don't know if it was because of the kind of setup they had or what, but it just seemed like it flowed a little bit better. I think the clips and stuff that they showed this time around, volume 11 was a little bit better than 10.
You are more well-versed with these guys than I am, so take that however you want. But the first one, 10, that we went to back in spring, I remember him saying there was a lot of like repeated things, or it was almost like a best of like show in a lot of ways, which is fine. I mean, there was a lot of good stuff in there, but it kind of felt, at least for me, I was like, am I the only person here who's not 100% in on the joke? Like,
Oh, in
there's
Ann Arbor?
maybe there's just some of the clips that they played just didn't land, and some of them landed better than others, obviously. I felt like this time around, maybe it's because I'm a little more versed in, maybe like we should go back and actually say what Found Footage Festival is in case you don't want to go dig up whatever episode it was we talked about it last time. But I don't know, just everything, maybe it was a little more raunchy this time, or a little more, it flowed better. I don't know. Maybe it was just because I could sit the whole time. I didn't have some asshole stealing my chair or something like that. I'm not sure. This is more your thing though. So I think you'd be better at explaining what Found Footage Festival is. So, because it's not the found footage that I think most people would associate this show with.
Yeah, Found Footage Fest is a couple guys, Joe and Nick, and they collect VHS tapes, and these are essentially all these different clips. They go through their collection. I think they have like 13,000 VHS tapes, and each one of these found footage festivals, they've been doing it, this is their 21st year. So they take clips of, they digitize their collection. They're digitizing their collection now because right now we're at the mark, but they say that VHS is supposed to last about 40 years. So they feel that they're getting close to the point where they're going to lose a lot of this VHS footage, that they have a lot of these VHS tapes. So what they do is they're going through their collection, they're digitizing them, but they're finding these tapes that, you know, they're found footage. Like a lot of the stuff did never transitioned to DVD. It never made a transfer to digital, or made the transition to digital. So they're digitizing these tapes. They go through, they watch them. They cut out clips of what they find to be amusing. And this Found Footage Fest show that they do, that they take on the road, are clips from all the stuff that they've digitized. They've edited it down to what they consider the best parts or the funniest parts of these things. So yeah, that's basically what the Found Footage Fest is, the different volumes. You can watch it on rewindo.tv is their streaming service. They have a YouTube channel. I've talked about these guys a lot, or I did about a year ago when we saw them last time. I was talking about them quite a bit, but they do a Tuesday night live show that's called VCR Party Live. And that's basically what this show is, this Found Footage Fest that they take on the road, except the VCR Party Live, they're able to kind of go based on tapes that they found that week. And they edit them. They have guests, and they'll come on, and the guest will bring something that maybe they've never seen, maybe they have. So they found some kind of crazy things on the VCR Party Live, but also they show some pretty outrageous things at the show. I thought, like we said, just to kind of boil it down, I thought this iteration of the show, which I think just started within the last month or two, they started touring. It was a pretty good show. I found this one to be a little bit better. There's stuff that I've seen before. Like, it's not all new stuff. They've talked about it before. Maybe I've just gone back and watched like old VCR Party Lives, because some of that stuff does make it to the Found Footage Fest volumes. But yeah, I really enjoyed the show. It's interesting to see, because there was, like I said, such a plethora of things, different topics, different subjects, different genres of things that people put on VHS because it was so cheap to do. And it was a revolution to get a VCR in your house and be able to, I don't have to go to the movies. I don't have to go to the theater to watch a movie. But that also meant, like, there were people that were just starved for things to watch. It's really the first revolution in people having way too much time to watch stupid shit.
Well, there's also a pretty good, I mean, I don't know what the percentage would be, but there's a lot of like forgotten public access content that's just really comically poorly done. Like, there's a lot of, like, I don't want to go as far to say like home videos that happen to find their way into a thrift store, but
there's
just
some of that too.
There is some of that too, but it's primarily just things that manage to make it to tape, but there's no reason, like, you're not going to find, like, I don't know, I'm looking at my poster next to me, Dawn of the Dead, like B-roll that never saw the light of day. That's not the kind of stuff that they're looking at with found footage. This is like found footage in the truest sense of the word, like,
Mundane.
I don't know, like, these are the guys that buy a tape that has no label on it, or says like Billy's 15th birthday, and it happens to have like a pitch guy swearing because he stubbed his toe or something like that. Yeah, just very abstract, weird stuff. But at least I can only imagine what they leave out, because I got to think they probably depending on how you record a cassette tape, could you get up to like 8 hours of shit on a cassette tape or something like that?
Something like that.
Roughly?
At least 6.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got to think they probably have to sift through, like, if they get, like, most of these clips are kind of boiled down to like 2 to 3 minutes, something like that. How much time do they have to sit there and go through all this to find these little gems? That, I mean, it's impressive. So
I was doing that a little bit myself during COVID, going to Salvation Army or thrift stores and trying to find VHS tapes, and I don't really have the patience for it. But yeah, you have to watch it real time. There's not a way to just digitally rip it. You have to play it and screen record it off of some kind of capture device, and you just let it run and you leave and you come back and maybe you watch it at 2 times speed, and what is that? That's crazy. It's not. So they kind of curate the mundane, essentially. They curate the mundane to try and find stuff that's got some amount of humor to it. Like you said, it might be local public access. It might be somebody's home movies. It could be promotional tapes about, like, they showed one that was about psychic surgery, just stuff, like weird stuff that showed up on VHS, which everything seemingly did.
A lot of instructional, a lot of exercise videos, which are always good. A lot of daytime TV stuff that, like, would have no reason to be anywhere other than on a VHS tape. Like weird shit that showed up on morning talk shows or like middle of the day TV that you would have to be homesick to even have a chance to catch.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, definitely entertaining and plays together well. And they have a pretty good sense of humor as how they present it. Again, seeing it a second time, like the first time that I went, I basically went in blind. Like I had an idea of what I was getting into because
I said, do you want to go to this thing? And you said, yeah, why not? I have a free day. Let's go do this thing.
Right.
And this time you think you were looking forward to it.
Yeah, it was a good time. Anything else you want to talk on, or do you want me to babble?
No, please babble.
No.
No more. Please, please, no more. Babble.
All right.
Please.
So do you want the rewatch, the good thing, or the really bad thing?
Give me the really bad thing, the rewatch, and then the good thing.
So we'll start with the really bad thing then. I watched Friday the 13th, Jason Conquers Germany, which is a German fan film, which is not in English and does not have English subtitles. I don't think it matters. I can say after watching this, it's only about an hour long, so it's pretty short. If you can find it, it's worth not finding, quite frankly. This is the first time that I've seen Jason be resurrected by a random guy getting bit by a spider, and then a window opens and you don't see anything, but it kind of implies like a ghost comes in because the camera just moves around like, woo, and somehow that guy becomes Jason. I have no idea how or why that happened because I've watched a lot of Friday the 13th. I'm pretty sure I've watched all 12 of the actual movies and then some. I'm not even sure that I've seen a spider in any of these movies, let alone one that actually transfers Jason's power. But I digress. We give up on that because he starts killing people like in very low budget comedic ways. Jason does use a cell phone in this movie, which is kind of fucking bizarre. He doesn't really talk, but he calls someone and like just kind of stands there with the cell phone. I'm like, what's the fucking point of this? I did write in my notes, I strongly suspect English would not help this movie at all, like being able to understand what's going on, because it doesn't seem like there's much of a story to follow. It seems like this is as much as any other shot and Chidio thing where it's like guy got camera, wanted to make a movie and just said, fuck it, let's go ahead and do some copyright infringement, and went from there. So, and they did manage to rip off the entire Friday the 13th score from the original score is playing throughout the movie. I don't know if that's just the cut that I watched or the actual cut. I can't imagine that someone's out there doing a re-edit of Friday the 13th, Jason Conquers Germany.
There's a director's
especially
cut.
without adding subtitles. Yeah, without adding subtitles or something like that. But
maybe you watch the theatrical cut.
And then maybe theatrical. I also wrote down guy gets punched, and I don't remember what that was about at the moment. But apparently someone gets punched in the movie, so that's good.
Yeah. Jason does punch people once in a while, from what I've heard.
Yeah, once in a while. They did miss the biggest plot point, though. They did not throw anyone through a window. There were no windows broken that I remember. There were windows that opened because that's where ghosts come in and out, apparently, that turn you into Jason. But it can't be considered a real Friday the 13th movie if a window is intact the entire time, right?
I don't even open the windows in my house for the fear that the spirit of Jason could come in and take over. I love my family too much.
If real Jason was there, he wouldn't care. He'd break your fucking windows anyway, because he doesn't like Windows. We've established this.
He's a Mac user.
It's very true. You said rewatch?
Yes.
Next?
Yeah, save the best for last. Please.
I gave the movie Speed with Keanu Reeves a rewatch for some reason. The first one, not the second one.
That's an odd
And
choice.
I'll come back
okay.
around to that. Yeah, I was just kind of bored in it. I was flipping through looking for something to watch, and I was like, I haven't watched this in probably 20 years at this point. Let's give this a go. How bad can it be? It's the stereotype of what Keanu Reeves is, like kind of the mix of Bill and Ted and like Neo, where he's just kind of like, whoa, but he also does action stuff. That's this movie to a T. Like, he is lovably dumb as a rock in this fucking movie and doing shit on this, like the whole concept of this, like Dennis Hopper, like drugged out bad guy doing whatever, like just chewing scenery from like a walkie talkie. I totally forgot that Jeff Daniels is in this movie, but he's kind of a pretty major role in it, and he's fine. He's Jeff Daniels,
Michigan
as
town.
a whole. Yeah, he's Northern Michigan. But he still likes the right football team, so we'll give it to him. It's one of those movies that it's like, this is very much so at home in what it is. It's a 90s action movie that really is a super thin premise, and it just feels like some guys, like if there was a pitch meeting video, it would just be like, we need a movie. He goes, I got a movie about a bus. What does the bus do? I think it can't go under 50. Who's in it? Keanu Reeves. Sure, whatever. Here's $50. Go make your movie. And it's dramatically better than Jason Conquers Germany. So that's a good thing. What I will say is it really made me want to go back and rewatch the second movie, which I haven't found yet, because the second movie has Willem Dafoe and Jason Patrick in it. And I just want to remember how terrible it is, because I remember it being fucking terrible. And I remember Willem Dafoe kind of up the ante from Dennis Hopper as far as being a crazy bad guy. So I kind of want to go back and revisit that one sooner than later. But yeah, Speed. It's a movie. It is not as good as Point Break, but it's worth watching. And then last, the thing that I'll put it out there first. I'd strongly recommend this if you have any interest in the topic at all, is the documentary about Iggy and the Stooges called Gimme Danger. So this came out in 2016. It is available on Amazon right now and at some level. It's just, so I'm a huge fan of the Stooges. Like, they're one of my all around favorite bands. I don't know if I've babbled about them much at any given point. This is just under 2 hours. It's about an hour and 50 minutes long. And it really covers everything from Iggy all the way back to when he was like a little kid, his upbringing. It sounds weird because he was raised in the Ann Arbor area. And according to him, he lived in a trailer, and like bullies would come like try to tip his trailer over all the time when he was in it and shit like that. But it also sounds like it was more like trailer by choice, because he kind of makes it sound like he was part of a pretty well-off area in Ann Arbor, and he left that to kind of get more grungy, I guess. But it does such a great job of breaking down the different band like changes in the lineup of the band, the first 3 albums especially. It skips over Iggy's solo career almost entirely. Like, the only mention of it is after the initial breakup of the band. They kind of wrap back around because they got back together and did a bunch of shows, and they still tour. Oh, I don't know if tour is the right word, but they still play shows occasionally. The only time they bring up Iggy's solo career is when he says something along the lines of like, my album sales were in the tank, so I figured why not go back to this. This always felt right, blah, blah, blah. It just gives a lot of really good insight. Their songwriting style is polar opposite of what I talked about with the Devo documentary a few weeks back. Like, if Devo is trying to make music for like this weird artistic vision, Iggy and the Stooges were just trying to fucking melt your brain. And it's fucking amazing hearing them talk about how they were like, we just went and took a bunch of drugs, and then we hit these hard notes, and then we're like, whoa. Like, somehow that's how they're writing songs. Very entertaining watch, very well shot, looks really good. Iggy wears a shirt through part of it, even though he explains why he doesn't like to wear a shirt through a big chunk of it. Can't recommend it enough. So, Gimme Danger on Amazon Prime. Big fan.
It's on the list for my upcoming vacation.
Oh, good. I'm glad to be influencing vacations. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
So I don't have anything else that I want to talk about this week. So let's go ahead and take a break, and we're going to come back and talk about a movie that has at least 2 titles, which seems to be a recurring trend on this show. We're going to come back and talk about Game Over or Maximum Surge or whatever we want to call it for the moment. So be right back. Hey, John here. We recently conducted a survey of 500 senior citizens, and 499 of them said they would rather listen to any podcast other than the Dewey Pod Monster. We're here today to talk to the one. This is Crazy Balls Johnson. Crazy Balls, what do you like about the Dewey Pod Monster podcast?
I love that you guys are always balls to the wall, living life on the edge, talking about bullshit movies that everyone else hates. But I eat that shit up like a pig in slop.
You heard it here, folks. You can eat that shit up like a pig in slop, too, along with all the other fine podcasts at yourunpodcast.com. All right, so as threatened before, we are going to be talking about the movie Maximum Surge. This movie came out in 2003, and I was, shockingly, able to find a third-party review on this. This might be from our own Sean. I don't know. Sean?
It's not me. Well, I don't know. Let's hear what it says.
This is on Letterboxd. This guy's name is Jabroni Sean, and Jabroni Sean says, I only saw the back half of this, but who cares? Why would I ever watch this shit again? No stars, no hearts, no nothing. That's it. So was that you? Are you Jabroni Sean?
No, but I'm thinking now that you don't know my Letterboxd handle, so maybe I'll start putting reviews up before the whatever episode it is that we talk about and see if you read it. That's a interesting thought.
I will tell you this, if you actually want me to read it, keep it under 2 sentences and you have a much better chance than if you write a fucking book in there, because a lot of those I skip right over.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I was unable to think of anything Cliff Notes wise on this, so let's roll right into it. Sean, what is Maximum Surge about?
I do have my Sean's notes about it, but I'll read what it says on this website. You may have heard of it. It's called IMDb. And if you want to find anything about it, you got to type in the words Maximum Surge. It's 2 different words. It pulls up this title. It says it's a TV movie from 2003. It gets a PG-13 rating. It's an hour and 30 minutes. It gets a 2.8 out of 10 with 205 reviews. And we read whatever's on the top. It could be the storyline. It could be the plot, but they wouldn't put it on top if you weren't supposed to read it first. It says, when a supercomputer is linked to a video game network, a computer programmer who designed the game must enter the virtual reality world of his fantasies and defeat the computer before it causes a worldwide information crash. And if I scroll on down to the storyline, this comes care of Lindsay James. It says, ace programmer Steve Hunter is sucked into a virtual computer game world controlled by Drexel, the world's fastest computer, addicted to computer games. To save humankind and himself, Steve must do battle inside Drexel's world with the aid of Joe, an AI robot he created.
Yeah, sure. We'll go with that. What are your Cliff Notes?
Okay, so my Sean's notes here, I wrote, a multi-talented genius programmer creates governmental software and video games. When a supercomputer by the name of Drexel is brought up, quote unquote, on these games, it becomes corrupt. On the eve of a new game getting released, the supercomputer that can now run the government challenges the programmer to his own new game. The programmer now has to enter virtual reality to save his friends and the world.
Yeah, sure. We can go with that. So there are actually a surprising amount of familiar faces that pop up in this movie.
Yeah.
They're not on screen exceptionally long for the most part.
Correct.
But there are a few of them.
Yes.
So I don't think anyone's really going to know the lead actor, but who's in this movie that's worth mentioning?
Okay, so I'm going to tell you the cast, and I'm going to tell you why it's so weird. Why the cast is so weird. So the cast, the people you see the most, the people that are like actually key to the story, we have Dominika Wolski, who plays Elaine Barker. I don't know what she's been in stuff. I didn't recognize a thing.
She looks super familiar, but I couldn't recognize when I pulled up this page and clicked on her. I'm like, I don't recognize any of this, but she looks, there's something about her that looks, maybe it's just a look. But she does have a very familiar face that I feel like I've seen a bunch of times.
Well, then on the flip side, we have Woody Jeffries, who plays Steve Hunter, and he was in a couple episodes of Supernatural. He was in an episode of Steven Seagal's True Justice, and he was in Hollow Man 2. So then we also have these other people that you probably would recognize, and these are all footage. They're like archive footage from different things. We have Walter Koenig, who was Chekhov from Star Trek. He plays Drexel. We have Yasmine Bleeth, who plays Jo, and she's from Baywatch. You may know her. We have Dick Miller, who is one of our favorite actors. He's been in 190 films, but we covered him in stuff like Chopping Mall, Night of the Creeps, and he was in The Terminator. We also have Vincent Schiavelli, who he's passed away now, but he was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He was in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. He was also in Death to Smoochie. We've got Michael Buffer, the pre-announcer, Let's Get Ready to Rumble guy. Oh, shit, he's going to sue me. Let's Get Ready to Brawl guy from boxing. And then we have
people for that.
He has a copyright on Let's Get Ready to
Does
Rumble.
he?
So I'm supposed to pay him $1 million every time I say that. And then we have
I did not know that.
NFL and NFL coach and NFL tight end, former tight end, Mike Ditka. He is in a small role. And let me explain why we have these people, why we have Walter Koenig, why Yasmine Bleeth, why we have these people. And Walter Koenig and Yasmine Bleeth are actually both like listed top billing on the poster for this movie. The reason is that this movie was basically, it combined 65 minutes of new film, like an actual film that they created, and it combines that with 35 minutes of FMV, which is full motion video, like video game full motion video. If you play a video game where people like Mad Dog McCree, or games where people are actually moving, you don't actually control like what happens on the screen, but you know, like kind of like Dragon's Lair, but that's the cartoon form of it. Like you're pushing a direction when the side of the screen lights up, or you're shooting at a thing on a screen when it flashes or whatever. That's what FMV video is. This is 35 minutes of 5 different video games. They're all from the studio called Digital Pictures. So it's Prize Fighter. That's where we get Michael Buffer. We've got Supreme Warrior, which is like a kung fu game. There's Corpse Killer, which is the zombie part of this movie. Quarterback Attack with Mike Ditka is why Mike Ditka's in here. And then there was a game by the same title of this movie as this movie, Maximum Surge. That game got canceled. So that is the parts, those scenes that we see from Maximum Surge, the video game, are the ones that have Yasmine Bleeth, the ones that have Walter Koenig. They originally shot footage for this video game, but it just never made it to market. That was supposed to come out in 1998. So this movie weaves together both the story that they filmed to surround this video game footage and combines it and connects it with these different games. So again, since Yasmine Bleeth is on the cover, she really only appeared in this quote unquote stock footage that they use for this game. So that's why this movie is so all over the place. That's what really intrigued me. And this was my suggestion, if we haven't mentioned it. This was my suggestion of a movie to watch, because we watched Fatal Deviation, which was John's suggestion.
Was my fault.
Yeah. So this one was like, I've
Sean
really been
demanded
curious.
revenge.
No, I've just been really curious as to what this is about, because I read all the backstory about it and why it was so weird. And I just figured, like, this sounds like something that we should watch and talk about. So that's why we watched it, and that's why we're talking about it today.
So we usually start kind of going with, positive, because someone's got to do it. Judging by the 205 people that have reviewed this movie on IMDb, it doesn't seem like it has the strongest legacy out there. So we'll start on a good note, and I'll lead this off so Sean can take a breather for a second. As far as positives on this, I like how erratic this movie is.
Long pause.
It's actually, I'm trying to find the best way to say it positively.
Right.
Because quite frankly, like, this movie you already said it. This movie's all over the fucking place. The premise of the movie, like, is fucking ridiculous. Like, we already said that, like, okay, there's this government agency, they're gonna use this video game code or something to do some bad shit. I don't even remember what at the moment, take over the world or kill people or whatever. Doesn't really matter. And main dude has to, like, jack himself off and into this, like, video game so that he can go fight the government.
Fuck the government.
There is a really funny line where he's like, oh snap, Drexel is the government at one point, which I thought was funny. I like how overly, like, into this. I've never seen a guy act like he's playing a video game and act harder than this guy acts. He is so sweaty. He's always convulsing. He's always like, this guy's neck muscles by the end of the movie. He should look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but he doesn't. He looks like instead that he's been put through like a sweat box and lost 30 pounds of water weight because he's played a video game. And that whole premise I find so ridiculous that it's kind of fun. Past that, I like some of the people we haven't mentioned. Jean Paul from Seinfeld shows up as a Rastafarian during the zombie scene, so that's kind of fun. Exact quote here. That guy who really committed a murder is from The Shield is on this because I don't even remember the actor's name, but he got arrested for killing his neighbor or something like that when they were shooting The Shield, and he's in this movie. So it is kind of fun seeing random people pop up where you're like, who's this guy? I know this guy. And then it is one of those, it makes you go to the IMDb page and like figure out who these fucking people are. So it's kind of like a Where's Waldo of a movie.
And it's very sparse information as to who's in this, because there's not, even if you look at the credits after this, there's Michael Champion, I think is the guy's name, who's in the Maximum Surge game. He was in Total Recall. He's the blonde guy with kind of like a buzz cut. He's not even credited in this movie, and he's on screen quite a bit. And it's just that he's not in the credits. So I guess the IMDb entry for this movie is just really sparse, and they only put who is in the credits of this. There's no like additional cast or uncredited people or anything in this. And I just thought it was really, I had to keep looking up who Michael Champion was and what. I knew he was in a Schwarzenegger movie, but I couldn't put two and two together as to which one he was in. So it was just weird that it's just so sparse with who actually stars in this movie.
And we could go back and forth here. I don't know how many positives you have before we switch gears, but how about you? Is there stuff that you like in this one?
I have so many positives.
Oh, geez.
About this movie. Yeah, I know you're going to love this. I want to start piggybacking off what you said and kind of clarifying a little bit. So Drexel, the personification or the actual quote unquote real world item that is Drexel, the computer, looks like a keg with, it looks like a shitty Stanley Cup. Like the worst Stanley Cup replica you have ever seen.
No, it looks closer to a keg. It looks
with like a
mix
big
of
tower
keg.
in it or something.
It's not the Lost in Space. There's another robot that it kind of looks like. It's that shitty toy robot that had the like short circuit eyes. I'm doing things with my hands
Wall-E?
that no one's gonna be able to see. Yeah, kinda.
It's
It's
just
like a
has
mix
one
of
eye.
Wall-E. Yeah, it's
Like
like a mix of
one red
Wall-E
eye.
and a beer keg. But either way, it looks stupid. But anyway, continue.
It is awful. Like, this is a supercomputer. This is the computer that's running the world. Wow, we're in fucking trouble. And the VR system that Hunter gets into, and I am convinced, I will come back to this. The VR system that Hunter gets into looks basically like a shitty barber chair that you put these sunglasses on that have wires coming out of it. And the wires, like, they shoot lights into his eyes, and that's how he gets hurt. They look like Oakley, like old Oakley razor blade sunglasses or something with wires sticking out of the front. You just got the worst, like, discount Oakley razor blade sunglasses or whatever. But
With the sunglass hut and said that will do.
Those are $40. Cool. I don't want to pay the $140 for the blades. He's constantly on screen, just like swinging his shoulders around, like he's getting, like somebody's defibrillating him constantly. That's like his standard thing. And the reason this guy, his name is Hunter, is because the stuff that they had already filmed for Maximum Surge for the actual game refers to the character as Hunter. That's the only, like, other than the other people that were filmed in quote unquote the new footage, call him Hunter, but in the video game, the only one they showed that is actually him is the Maximum Surge. Like, Yasmin Bleeth calls him Hunter one time. So then, we got to call the character Hunter. Basically, we're talking about this movie and they go through these different games. He is in VR, so he's in a game and Drexel tries to divert him and put him in this other thing that's totally, they don't present it as a game, the other things that he's doing, but the way that you can tell in this movie when he is in the game is the perspective of the character shifts to first person, so it's they're talking to you like you would see in a FMV game or in a VR game. So it's kind of funny that you can basically tell whenever oh shit, this is game footage because they're talking to me directly, the viewer. I love this era of movies, late 90s, early 2000s, where people were just so naive about computers that you could have far-fetched ideas about, the computer, this guy's got a computer that can talk to him. Haha, that's cool. It has a synthesized voice and he talks back to it. And people would believe anything. If you think of hackers, like I've related the anecdote before, the movie Hackers, when Johnny Lee Hooker goes, or is that his name? Johnny Lee Miller goes into Johnny Lee Hooker. When Johnny Lee Miller.
John Lee Hooker was a guy, but
he wasn't in Hackers.
I don't think.
When he goes into like the internet and the numbers are swirling around him, I remember someone asking me, like, that had never been online at that point, is that really what it's like? No, you fucking idiot. It's a web page.
Yes.
You're reading text on it. It's like you're reading somebody's paper that they wrote.
It's just like that with tits.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think that while I love that era of movies when they try to portray computers and it's just so off the chain ridiculous. The sad thing is that like these days with all the AI slop, people don't recognize when it's actually real or fake. So that's a whole nother thing. I also love that when I'm just going to give all my likes because I feel like you can finish us out with the likes because I know you have a page full of likes too. But Walter Koenig, when he shows up, Drexel itself,
likes.
Yes, pages. Drexel has a voice and it's a little kid's voice. And Walter Koenig, whenever he shows up on the screen, is Drexel. He's the embodiment of Drexel when Drexel's a character. They dub him over. They dub Walter Koenig's voice over with this kid's voice, and he looks so creepy, and it sounds so fucked up because it's a kid voice instead of Walter Koenig's. I think it's genius. I laughed. I was like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. There's a character, Professor Roswell, and he says there are the net police are these two guys that are they're there to enforce the government's will, and there's this other like bad guy, and Drexel is what he's supposed to be doing is like stealing all the government around the world's information. And they keep talking about like he's blacking out these countries. He's stealing all this information. We're going to be in the Stone Age in a couple hours because he's at this pace of stealing all this stuff. The bad guy's logic is that he's made a deal. He's the one that's acting as the envoy, the human envoy for Drexel, the computer. And his thing is he struck a deal with Drexel that Drexel's going to give him, in order for Drexel to play Maximum Surge, the new game that's coming out, because he just has to play this new game, he's going to give this guy all the data. And the guy can sell the data. But if we're in the Stone Age, like nobody's going to be able to do anything with the data. It's going to be worthless, right? Because everybody's shit's going to be wrecked and they're not going to be able to use it. But there's a scene where Roswell, the professor, he's like, says to one of the security guards, if you have a wife or a girlfriend, go to them and make love to them for one last time. We don't have much time left. And it's like, he's
talking about like 2 minutes left to live. And he's telling people to stop what they're doing, go home and fuck their whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you might as well just stay and crank off at this point. Like,
world's going to end. It's hopeless. And the last thing that I have listed on my long list of likes, Mike Ditka's hair is fabulous. I forgot how great this man's hair was, especially that early 2000s
look that different
era.
Now.
Well, I think he has a lot less of it, but it's just so poofy, and it's like this massive like mushroom tip on the top of his head. Amazing. Mike Ditka, I'm so jealous. John, I would love to hear the rest of your laundry list of likes.
For the video game footage that they use, and I'm sure this is available, I'm not looking it up right now because we're having a conversation. Do you remember when that was shot?
I think it would be mid-90s. I think it was for the Saturn and the Jaguar. And
that's where, that kind of changes my opinion, because what I'm about to say, depending on when that was shot, would determine if I think this is a negative or a positive. Because the video game sequences, I guess, when you see them in there, my reoccurring thought through this whole fucking movie was like, oh, if this actually feels kind of ahead of its time as far as an attempt at storytelling. And then I look at the release date and it says 2003. And I'm like, maybe not. Maybe this is the opposite problem where it's way behind its time. The video game shots that you see, they reminded me of the Sega CD, or the Sega Saturn would be appropriate to, like one of those where the technology to make the game actually do a lot of things wasn't quite there yet, but you could make good images in there as long as they are basically just playing a video. So it kind of reminded me of that. So I will change this to a positive, considering that those are when they're shot. I actually think it looks pretty good. And knowing that these were shot for a game, the fact that they got people like Dick Miller as like a ring
like a cut man
side
or
judge
something.
or whatever. Yeah, he's
Assistant
one. He's
trainer or
great.
something.
He's great for the like 1 minute that he's on screen.
Go
He's-
kick
he's
his
funny
butt.
in it. Like, kick his teeth in and his whatever. And again, all those cutscenes, like I thoroughly enjoyed the Dicka moments too, mostly because this guy is like the worst football player ever, and they have him at quarterback, and like literally every time he touches the ball, there's like some 400-pound guy that like sits on his face, rubs his balls on him, and he's like, "Eat a dick." You know,
You ever have a
I'm sure-
safe fall on you? You just did.
yeah, something like that.
Okay.
So the whole jarringness of the game thing, like once knowing that it's that old a footage, and it sounds like they're just trying to salvage it with this.
Mhm. Exactly.
I'm actually going to say that's more of a positive than a negative, because does it work? Not really, but I see what they were going for, and that, A for effort type thing. The crowd in the boxing match is also really funny because they're just saying some really shitty stuff like that they're screaming at you. And it does kind of like, if you know that it's coming from a video game, it kind of makes sense because it's ridiculous. But the noise that you're coming from the crowd, I have that listed as a really good positive. And the only other positive that I have that I'm going to put in here is that I just wrote flat out, this movie is insane. And I say that because once this movie gets going and he's really like, jacked into the VR, J-off machine or whatever, you're basically switching genres. Like he gets punched in the face in the boxing movie and all of a sudden we're back to the zombie game. And then he is like, woman assistant whose name I can't remember, get me back to Maximum Surge. And she, clang, clang, clang on the keyboard. And he's back in Maximum Surge with Yasmin Bleef, like
For about 2 seconds.
walking behind her. Yeah, walking behind her for 2 seconds. And then we flip the channel again. We're over to the Rastafarian zombie movie for some reason. Just the way that it flips back and forth. I don't want to go as far to say that it forces you to pay attention because honestly, none of these stories are fleshed out enough, including the overarching story, to make you really have to pay attention. But the concept, I was like, all right, it's not there yet as far as getting it like good, but it's not the worst thing that I've seen in a video game adaptation, especially knowing how much of like a quarter of the or a third of the movie is basically for a different purpose.
Just to go back to the dates. So Prize Fighter, the boxing thing, was 1993. Supreme Warrior, the Kung Fu thing, which really doesn't have any recognizable people in it. That's from 94. Corpse Killer is the Rastafarian piece. That's 94. Quarterback Attack is 95. And the actual Maximum Surge is 96. And I think, I want to say that the scenes where the whole Maximum Surge video game piece where they're on the train, like they just show this train car thing basically floating above the ground all the time. I don't even know if that's part of the game.
I don't remember that at the moment, but okay.
That's whenever they showed out exterior shots and they'd show the robots stomping around, they'd show the like that's.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't even know if that's actually if that's even game footage. It could. I'm assuming it probably is, but yeah, most of the stuff for the game is the Yasmin Bleeth, the shooting gallery going down the hall, the ugly guys come out, and I do think that for how disjointed this movie is and for how crappy like the rating, the 2.8 on IMDb. I could understand like movies that we might like don't necessarily always get good ratings, which for good reason. People that watch this, they're just watching it and they're rating it. And it's like, oh, everybody uses a different scale. If it was Citizen Kane and somebody gave it 1 star or whatever, then it'd be a little suspect. But I feel like it's actually
That's
pretty.
Just people being a dick to be a dick.
Yeah, kind of like being contrarian or whatever. But I feel like the ingenuity or whatever, the thought process that went into actually being able to edit all this shit together to actually make a coherent story is actually kind of admirable. Like you could see this just being slop, and it is pretty sloppy. I even think the actual pieces of the acting, like the parts where they're showing the again, quote unquote, new footage is it's bad. It's not good, but I felt like the pacing was okay. It was somewhat entertaining until I would say maybe like the last half hour, and maybe we'll start getting into dislikes at this point. It really started to drag.
We're definitely getting into dislikes at this point because I'm pivoting as soon as you're done with whatever you're saying.
As soon as you're done flapping your yap, we're moving on to dislikes. I mean,
you're in like mid pivot, so
yeah, it's
okay.
It makes absolutely no sense. Like the shit that they're trying to now stitch together towards the end of the movie to get to the end. This is the definition, and we have said this so many times in the last 3 months. I heard a movie is supposed to be an hour and a half. Let's make it an hour and a half. And guess what? They hit exactly an hour and a half because they had to pad the shit out of this movie to actually get to the end. Like, you could have ended this movie easily 15 to 20 minutes earlier and nobody would have noticed.
Oh yeah. It might have been better, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, the biggest problem I have with this movie, and this is kind of a stupid thing to say because it's a movie, the stakes in this movie feel so small. And I know they're saying like, oh, all the data in the world going back to the, it just feels like watching Dr. Evil when he asked for $1 million from the US government. Like, it's just so, the bad guy doesn't feel like he's capable of pulling this shit off. It feels like even if he somehow succeeds, he's going to fuck it up or something, and like forget to hit save or hit Control-Alt-Death or some shit like something not right. There's no point in this movie where I feel like, and granted, this is a movie well in the reins of none of this shit matters. This movie feels like none of this shit matters at all. It feels like the acting outside of the video game clips, 90% of it is dude sitting in a chair and convulsing and sweating.
Yeah. Like,
there's absolutely, like, you thought the character development in Fatal Deviation was bad. This might give it a run for its money. Like, it does not work. Like, I don't feel like I know anything about any of these fucking characters at all. And it really doesn't matter because it doesn't, I don't think that would have added, I don't think there's enough story here to add to this, what we're going for with it. And I already said it once, but it really feels like they had probably 30 to 60 minutes of cut footage and they said, we already shot this. We have Yasmin Bleeth and Dick Miller and whoever else that we've mentioned. Let's just do something with it.
Let's try and get some of our money back.
Yeah, I have no idea what network this play. The only network I could see this possibly playing on would be like Sci-Fi.
Yeah,
would be my guess.
Early 2000 Sci-Fi before Sci-Fi, the Sci-Fi rebrand, and they were just playing any
whatever.
Kind of
I could see it after that too, but that's the only place where I could really see this playing, and maybe make, I don't know, $100,000 off of that because of ads or whatever. I have no idea, but that's his biggest drawback is, although there's some ideas in here that seem inventive for the time, especially if you think about how half of this was shot in the 90s before what we know about computers and video games and where they got to by 2003. It feels blah, like, okay, a bunch of crazy shit happened and that's fine, but like, there's nothing in this to kind of draw you in and make you give a shit about any of this crazy shit that's happening. I think that's the biggest problem with it.
I would agree. I think the biggest, again, like it's admirable that they were able to put all this shit together. They were able to make some kind of story. They were able to string together an hour and 30 minutes. Like we heard in a movie, hour and 30. They were able to do that with all the information, all the crap that I was going to say, all the information, all the crap that they had. But it just, the longer it goes on, and I've mentioned this already, but the longer it goes on, it's the harder it is that all the structure of trying to build this movie together has to stick together to make it to the finish line. And it is just, it's not up to the task. Like, to your point, this movie could have had no establishing story, because they do try to give you a little bit of story about Steve Hunter, about, you know, the whatever her name is, Elise, whatever, that's his college girlfriend, and he's still in love with, you find out like, oh, he's still in love with her, and like all this shit. You could have just went in blank and just a guy walks into an office and, oh shit, the computer, and he runs and he sits down in the chair, and this could have been a 45-minute movie. It could have been cut in half and we would have gotten the same end result. Like, they could have used all the footage, the same stuff from the video games and from the quote unquote new movie. They just would have had to pay these guys less and we would have had the exact same story. So it's really kind of pointless, but entertaining at the same time in some weird way. Like, again, the inventiveness of what they did is the entertaining piece. The story and everything surrounding it is forgettable instantly.
Yeah, the only other thing I would really say with it, aside from the 4:3 ratio on it, just the way it's shot, and especially the way it's shot, you are painfully aware of when you're watching a TV movie as opposed to watching video game footage. Like, there's no way to hide it. And I always say that as a negative because early 2000s TV movies suck. Like, I can't think of a single one that I've ever sat through and actually liked. And really by that point, I think most of us had moved on from TV movies, and at least we're like fuck TV movie. I'm going straight to video. All that shit. So that'd be my only other thing. Like anything past that just feels like it would be mean spirited. And this movie, although I'm not going to say it's good, I don't feel like it needs to be like beaten down like some movies that we might talk about, like in a more mean spirited manner.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like what we need to say has been said.
Fire up the grill. Let's go.
Then you're in for a big treat, bro, because it's hot dog time.
So I'll start us off because I think Sean's going to be more long-winded on this one than I will.
Oh, geez, thanks.
Just taking it a guess. Jabroni Sean over here is going to be,
You found me out.
4 sentences.
Oh, no.
For me, this movie, I'm not giving it a hot dog, unfortunately.
Oh.
It's got some merits, but at the end of the day, like, unless you're a glutton for punishment, unless you're just really into obscure random shit that you can find in the weirdest corners of the internet, like, there's no target audience for this movie other than fuckos like us at this point. I
raised my hand
and
while
that's
you were
kind
saying
of
that.
hey, I'm right there with you. We're doing the show for a reason. I did not argue covering this movie, did I?
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
So there you go. I haven't argued covering a movie in a while, I don't think. I think The Manipulator was the last one that was, God damn it. But anyway, yeah, there's just really no target audience for this. There's no one that I can, like, oh, I like video game movies. Well, I can't even throw this at you for that because it doesn't do enough story-wise to kind of get you there. It's not science fiction enough for the science fiction crowd. It's not government conspiracy enough for that. It's definitely not action movie enough. And I wouldn't, even though there's a zombie game in here, I don't think there's any real horror elements or anything like that. Like it's just milquetoast, hour and a half, guy in a chair convulsing. So I can't give it a full hot dog. I'm not going to be meaner than I just was to it, but that's all I can really say about it.
Whose hot dog is this, huh? Is it yours?
All right, so I say this movie has one of the thinnest plots that I've ever seen. And honestly, when this movie started and it started to go and started to gain momentum, I didn't think I was going to be able to understand what was going on. Like, I honestly thought there was not going to be a plot at all. So when I finally figured out that our main character was going to go in VR and basically go through these different games, it did make me feel a little bit better. And I knew that coming into this, I knew you were going to be like, I don't have any kind of cliff notes. What the hell happened? So I felt good that I was able to figure out what the hell was going on. It gave the movie an excuse to use this FMV footage that they used for other games or whatever in it. And it padded out whatever it had to do to make that make sense. It wasn't good, but it made sense as to what the attempt was supposed to be. It's, again, we've both said this. This is by no means a good movie, but I think it can be fun under the right circumstances. I don't think that you should have to know the backstory of a movie and all the games that went into it and all this shit for it to actually make sense. But in this instance, I think that knowing all this shit or reading trivia or reading maybe a Wikipedia entry or whatever about this game or this movie would really help you grasp what's going on a little bit better. What's that? Oh, it doesn't hurt.
It definitely doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, like, I'm not going to say no hot dogs. I'm going to give Maximum Surge half a hot dog. I think this is basically Z-grade trash, but if that's your thing, I think you should watch it. I'll link it in the show notes. I do feel like this is something that's maybe worth a watch because I do think it is entertaining for what it is. But if you have like no tolerance for super low grade, just garbage that we watch, then I would say no hot dogs as well. But I think if you're kind of open-minded enough, I would say give it a try. This is not something I will go back to, but I could totally see myself talking to my friends.
Watching this on the plane all day.
No, but talking to my friends about, oh my God, have you seen this? Blah, blah, you get into conversations and you're like, have you seen this movie? It's called this XYZ. I could see myself recommending it to a friend just to watch, but I don't personally think I'd want to sit and watch this again, especially not on my own. I'd have to watch it with somebody who hasn't watched it before just to see their face like contort.
Just to watch them. I'm not even watching the movie. I'm just watching him.
I like to watch them. I want to watch somebody's face contort in all the confusion to be like, what the fuck is actually going on? That's what I would watch this movie again for.
I do want to say I agree with you. I don't think you should have to know the backstory of any movie to go into it. I feel like the movie's job is, sequels aside, maybe debatably, but for the most part, I feel like if you go into a movie, you should be able to get an idea of what happened in the movie and know what the story is without any major prerequisites. Now, if you're talking about a continuation of a story, not that I want to watch these again, but like the Lord of the Rings ones, like those are 3 movies that's a continuation from 1, 2, 3. So, you know, you probably do need them for a movie like that. Although I think you can still enjoy those on their own if like they're not that bad. But you're right with this one, knowing why this movie is the flavor of shit that it is probably helps it be a little bit more palatable than if you just went into this blind, or if you were just like flipping around on and stumbled on this at sci-fi at 2 a.m. after you got home from the bar. You'd be throwing a beer bottle at your TV like, what the fuck is this? It's not going to go well.
The burden should be on the movie to tell you what it's about.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, in this case, did it help for me to be able to read all the backstory, for me knowing about what I knew about this movie going into it? It definitely helped. But a movie should, at the bare minimum, the movie's responsibility is to tell you what it's about, you know?
Well, even if we look at some of the other trash movies that we watch, like Fat Guy Goes Nutsoid, it's in the title. It's about a fat guy who goes nutsoid. You know, Black Devil Doll from Hell. You know, in the first, 10 minutes of that movie, gets the doll, it's evil, bad shit happens.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. So it's not above trash cinema to be able to convey a story. And I'm not sure this one does. So I think that's what we got in this movie. We did skip question of the week this week because I had no idea how to relate anything to this movie. And Sean was no help. He just wanted to reuse a question we had already done before, which is fine. We did ask you how you feel about question of the week, if you want us to continue doing it, if you want us to, what your thoughts are on it. We wanted feedback on that. We did have a couple responses, so we'll talk about that off stage and see what we want to do with that going forward, but none of that this week. So I think we're going to start wrapping up. In the meantime, if you want to reach out to us, be it about question of the week or anything else, whatever you want us to talk about, you can find us on social media. We are at Dewey Pod Monster when we're not actively getting restricted for dumb bullshit reasons, except for on Blue Sky, where it's always cool. We're at crap.town, but no one interacts on there, so that makes it tough. You can find our site, which is also crap.town. You can leave us feedback on there, or you can go to our network site, which is yourunpodcast.com. While you are there, please do find another show. Find something new that you haven't heard yet. It's always worth checking out. Sean, what am I forgetting? I'm sure I'm forgetting a lot.
Well, I was just going to say, reach out. If you have even question of the week suggestions, you don't have to know what we're talking about. We can throw stuff out that doesn't have to do with what we're talking about. Submit them to social media if you have questions that you might want to hear what other people have to say, because I know it's as a very leisurely social media user, I know it can be hard to get people to respond or get people to interact with you. I mean, shit, you just said it. Like, we don't have that many people that interact on Blue Sky with us. That's the place that I'm primarily. So if you want to follow us on those places, Dewey Pod Monster on all social media, at crap.town on Blue Sky. I'm at internalbleeding.crap.town on Blue Sky. You can find me there. If you want to hear about, or if you want to watch, if you want to see any of the things that we mentioned in this show, especially in the What You Watching part at the beginning of the show, they'll be all linked in the show notes. Most of those are free. If you see one that says Amazon after it, those are affiliate links. If you click on those links, if you go to Amazon and you buy something that, it doesn't even have to be the thing that we linked. If you buy, I don't know, peanuts or tampons or lube, I don't have any idea, maybe a Sega CD.
You're going to have a fun night.
Yeah.
Peanuts, tampons, lube,
Sega CD. Sounds like, why even, what else how else would you spend your evening?
This is why Amazon exists.
That's right. You buy into stuff on Amazon through our affiliate link. We get a small cut of that, but we're going to leave all this stuff that we talked about in the show notes. And, there's no other show in the universe that gives you all this information, all this great stuff that you can watch for free. Like I said, we try to do it for free. But yeah, so follow us, look at the show notes. Let us know if you have an opinion on question of the week, if you have questions that you'd like to ask, or if you have any kind of feedback for us, leave a review on your platform of choice. That's all I got. John, back to you.
So that's it for the week. Control-Alt-Death, swill up butt horns. We'll see you next week.
Bird season's over, Butthorn.
Control-Alt-Death.
I know.
It's not the title.
When I put that,
It's good.
when I put that picture up earlier, I didn't even see that till after it was up. I'm like, that's pretty fucking funny. So I've already edited out the DVD logo that was on her ass to be able to use for whatever I do with it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I think I'm going to leave Control-Alt-Death on there because that's pretty stupid.